Welcome to another expert series. In this installment, the Honorable Andrew Leslie touches on how Canada can juggle its domestic and expeditionary operational focuses, and he also discusses what he perceives to be Canada's declining reputation abroad as an international player.
There's a bunch of folk who would much prefer that their armed forces, especially in Canada, never go anywhere and never do anything internationally. Let others worry about it. Well, I understand that point of view. It has never worked because we are an interconnected world. Canada is very much a trading nation. A great deal of our wealth generation and our economy is doing remarkably well, and our gross domestic product is actually bigger than Russia's right now. But that is in part directly attributable to the security and stability and respect for the rule of law, which has arisen out of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, of which Canada is a founding member, designed shortly after the end of the Second World War. Just like COVID really changed things, well, so too has Russia's actions in the Ukraine. And there's shifting, there's almost tectonic movement amongst some of the strands of international diplomacy and trade, and the list goes on. So can we do both domestic and international? Domestic is only rarely the application of force or the threat. The vast majority is response to civil emergencies or helping out with floods or forest fires and such. You don't need soldiers to do that. You need emergency response organizations, which can be partially voluntary, certain amount of training. And there's several very good international models which come to mind in both France and Germany and other countries in Europe. Our armed forces have as their principal mission the defense of Canadian sovereignty and security, and contributing to international peace and stability as required, and making sure that we stay in lockstep with our big defense partner with whom we share the continent, the United States. The United States really isn't terribly interested. They're not interested at all in what we do internally, but they're very interested in our contributions to NORAD, North American Air Defense Agreement, and continental defense, in which we are a laggard participant. So the United States pays a vastly disproportional share of those costs. Internationally, we had a great reputation, and we really earned our spurs in NATO. This is after the Second World War and a variety of other missions, such as Afghanistan most recently. But now our credibility and stock has fallen dramatically. Canada's become increasingly self-absorbed, very much focused on the social agenda, which is fine and good. Let's not forget that Russia's just not that far away. And it's not only the Russian threat essentially to the existing world order, but it's also the idea of respect for the rule of law comes with enforcement of the rule of law. And that's where your armed forces comes in. It's part of that coalition of the willing that will act as a deterrent force, or in the worst case, hopefully the least used case, to actually fight and win in pursuit of nations' objectives. So can we afford to do both? We can't afford not to. You got to be able to do both. The Arctic is undefended. That is not necessarily a military task per se, in other words, closing with and destroying an enemy, but it's deterrence. We have nothing up there permanently which acts as any credible deterrent. Remember the days when I was in, for example, the former Yugoslavia? There were about 3,000 of us deployed there. We had a couple of thousand deployed around the world at the same time with a smaller armed forces. So what's happened to us? Where did that passion for actually doing more than just talking about the rule of law, doing more than just talking about international peace and security, and doing more than just talking about problem solving with our friends and allies? Canada's got a reputation now for a lot of talk, not a lot of action. The same people who said, don't worry, it's only a training exercise, Putin won't attack Ukraine again, were wrong. And then they said, well, it's only going to be the Donbass. He's just going to go a little way and reestablish a land bridge with the Crimea, and it'll be very centered. They were wrong. He doesn't want to smash cities and cause Ukraine people to evict. He's just trying to address some whatever, and they were wrong. Oh, he's going to stop at the Ukraine is the current cry. Don't worry. As soon as he does that, we'll all get back to normal. They're wrong. And even if they're not wrong, we should prepare for the worst case.